Todd Whitman, Lakeland, Florida, Republican.
Yes, good morning. Praise be for C-SPAN. Good morning,
Good
Peter.
morning.
Governor
Good morning.
Whitman. This is Keno from Lakeland. I want to invite you, Governor, to come down to Lakeland. We're going to have the Unitarian Church, a debate on nuclear power, and want you to get Charlie Crist, the governor, Republican, and come down and be at our debate or send representatives. And then also, I call as Republican for Reform. Our nickname is the Moose Herders, updated version of Bull Moose Party. We ask you to do two things. Join with Blumenauer, Congressman Blumenauer of Portland, Oregon. He has his bicycle lapel pin, his bicycles and buses program, in the big cities. I talked to Governor Crist about this. I want you to go by and consider wearing one of the pins. And also, as Moose Herders, we want to ask that President Bush dictate Cheney to retire so Olympia Snowe can be his new vice president for the rest of his term. More power to women power.
Caller, before we get into the politics, what do you think about nuclear power?
Well, I'm personally against it myself, but...
Caller?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm personally against nuclear power because I think it's immoral to produce waste that for 30,000 years our children and grandchildren are going to have this, if we can shoot it into the sun or inject it into the earth's crust or something, but all this nuclear waste scares me, and I don't think we have a good answer to how to get rid of all that waste.
Well, thanks for all those suggestions, and we'll certainly look into the symposium that you're having. I was just down in Florida, actually, at the Truman Library, talking there, and did talk a little bit about nuclear power. And I've been down to Florida on a number of occasions because the Florida legislature has done quite a bit to encourage nuclear, actually. And, again, you touch on an issue that's very real, and that is the issue of what do you do with the waste. That's why I believe that recycling is going to have to play such a large part, because the waste can be vastly reduced through recycling. It is right now being reduced that way in France and in Japan. And if you look around the world, there are dozens of countries that are relying on nuclear power, many that have more than 50% of their power coming from nuclear and are doing it very successfully and handling the waste very well. So I just think we need to take a good hard look at what's available to us and see if it'll work in this country. I believe it will.
What about coal?
Coal is over 50% of our power today, about 52%, and it will always be part. We're not going to be able to make up that amount with anything else. And we need to just make sure we get the lowest sulfur coal and that we really work on things like underground injection. Is that truly going to be the solution that we want? We have to figure out how we do sequestration, how we handle this, because we just can't keep emitting the amount that we're putting into the atmosphere today. Whether you believe in climate change as human-made or natural, you have to believe that human activity is exacerbating a natural trend, if nothing else. With what we've done in land use changes and what we've done in putting into the environment, we need to take some action here.
The other co-chair of the Clean and Safe Energy Coalition is Dr. Patrick Moore, who is a former leader and co-founder of Greenpeace. Mm-hmm. Next call, Albany, New York, Democrat.
Good morning, Governor Whitman.
Good morning.
Peter, I must say you're looking better and better on the XM radio. I like that power red paisley tie you have on today. Governor Whitman, when I was in college in my salad days, a friend of mine worked on the investigation of Yucca Mountain. Mm-hmm. He did his internship there. This is a long time ago, of course. He said the data that he gathered showed that there had been geological activity in Yucca Mountain in the last 10,000 years. He also said that he was quite certain that this data, once it was massaged for the political report, would disappear. Yes, long-term storage is the hardest thing to come up with. If you have a restaurant, you can't bring the food in unless you can get the garbage out the back door. The recycling, how much will the recycling reduce the necessity of long-term underground storage? And do you have any idea of what the data was that I was talking about regarding Yucca Mountain's geological activity?
I don't have any idea. I haven't heard about the geological activity. I know that when I was at EPA, one of the things that we had to do relative to Yucca Mountain was decide on what kind of a water standard needed to be in place, and it had to be something that could be guaranteed for 10,000 years. We took drinking water rather than groundwater standard because that was a higher standard. And we ran the numbers, and it appeared to us that, in fact, that repository could meet the 10,000-year criteria. That was actually taken to court, and the court decided it wasn't enough, so it's now 1,000,000 years. I don't know how we can guarantee anything for 100 years, much less 10,000 or 1,000,000, but that's what that's being required, and that's what they've said. And it's fair to have to look at all those things. But the good news is that from everything, all the experts that I've talked to, and I'm not a nuclear scientist, and I say that right up front, but I have talked to a number of them. And what's happening with recycling is they're able to get the fissionable material, the spent material that's problematic in those rods down to about 2%. And so it's much, much smaller than anything that we have to deal with today. And if you can do that, or they are doing it in other parts of the world, the technology and all the, because we stopped really engaging in building new nuclear facilities back in the 70s, and so everything else is switched overseas to other countries where they're doing it and taking advantage of this technology. They are able to do that now, and they are very comfortable with what they're seeing, and it's very much reducing the need to store anything problematic. And if we're able to do that, a site like Yucca Mountain could take everything for the foreseeable future. If you leave it the way it is today, we're going to have to start looking for another Yucca Mountain after we fill Yucca Mountain up.
Lots of ads this morning in the political newspapers. This is from the Hill newspaper. Don't let the auto lobby dictate our gas mileage standards. This is from the Pew Campaign for Fuel Efficiency. That's about the CAFE standards, the gas mileage standards. And then there is a 2-page ad put out by Ford, our constituents and yours. It's talking about the employment figures and how many manufacturing facilities Ford has around the country, etc. Should CAFE standards be raised, or fuel mileage standards be raised?
I think we can do much better than we're doing today. I mean, I know we can. I drive a Prius, and I love getting 49, 50 miles to the gallon, I'll tell you, and it's a fun car, and we can do that. American ingenuity is unparalleled. We can do that and better. And I wish we would put that kind of investment in, because it would make a big difference. Clearly, mobile sources are a large part of the issue when you're dealing with climate change.
Is the Bush administration pro-environment in your view?
I think it is. The president certainly is. The president was when I talked to him. It's an approach. His approach does not satisfy a lot of people who've been so used to dealing with the zero-sum game on the environment. Somebody loses for somebody to win, rather than trying to look for ways where we can get the most for everybody. Nobody wins 100%, but everybody gets something. That's the partnership type of approach. So you're still continuing to improve the environment, but you're not necessarily putting business out of business. And that seems to be a sensible way to go. Are there things with which I disagree? Absolutely. There are more things that could be done and should be done, but they're not, certainly the president is not anti-environment.
Next call for Christy Todd Whitman.